help me out. Who was Adam's son?
Seth.
Seth. Who was Seth's sons?
Enoch.
Who was Enoch's son?
Kenan?
Canaan. Who was Canaan's son? Who's brave?
Mahalalel.
Mahalalel.
Whatever happened to John and Robert?
Who was
Yeah.
Mahalalel's son?
Jared.
Who was Jared's son?
Enoch.
Who was Enoch's son?
Methuselah.
Methuselah.
And Lamech and Noah. If you look up Adam, Adam means man. If you look up Seth, Seth means appointed. If you look up Enos, Enos means mortal. Kenan means sorrow. Mahalalel means praising God or the glory of God. Jared means descending or coming down. And Enoch means instructing. Methuselah means his death shall bring. Lamech means those in despair. And Noah means comfort or rest. Now let's put them all together. Man appointed, mortal sorrow, the glory of God coming down, instructing that his death shall bring those in despair, comfort, and rest.
Wow.
There's the story in the first 10
Guess
generations.
it's not very boring after all, is it?
First 10 generations of the Bible tells the story right there.
Wow.
Don't skip over the names. It goes the whole Bible. It's just all the. I mean, just putting it. I mean, it's just all over the whole Bible. Putting things together. It just tells the story over, and it's the Bible's one big story. That's what we did a couple weeks ago when we did a survey through the Bible. It tells this big story, but then it breaks it down and it tells it in different. It just tells the same story over and over and over again. And there it is in the first 10 names of the Bible. Look at, pay attention to names. We don't have. We don't call people. I like that name. That's what we're going to call our kid. That's how we. The names back then meant something. And God is telling us the story through the first 10 names of the generations. All right, look in chapter 5. Notice that each person, the Bible says, like in verse 3 it says, Adam lived 130 years, and then he begat a son in his own likeness and after his image, and he called his name Seth. And then the days of Adam after he had Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And every man is going to be the same thing. It's going to tell you that he lived so long, and then he begat a son, and then he lived so long after that. And looking at, why would God break it down like that? He really didn't break it down like that with Cain's descendants. And I think maybe that and this is just my opinion, maybe he's trying to tell us that there's life before a son, and there's life after a son. And the life after you have a son, or the son, is a whole lot greater and bigger than the life you had before that son. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm reading a little bit into it, but each one of these men lived a relatively short time, and they had a son, and then they lived a relatively long time after that. And I believe that's what God's trying to tell us. Life before the son is relatively short, or relatively, but life after the son is great. Let's see what else I wanted to look at. Let's look at Enoch. Most of the commentaries, if you look at any commentaries, when you get to chapter 5, they're going to pretty much skip to Enoch and Noah. They're going to skip over everybody else. But it says Enoch lived 65 years in verse 21 and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. So he was just walking along, walking with God, and God just took him. What do you think that's a picture of?
When they call the saved people,
The rapture?
yeah.
The rapture, right. The rapture, when Jesus comes back and blows his horn, and we're all just going to get out of here. Notice that it was before the flood that Enoch was taken. And we'll be taken before the tribulation. Let me ask you, here's an interesting one. You ever heard someone real smart say, you know who the oldest man in the Bible is? And of course people say Methuselah, because years-wise that's the oldest man. And then they say, oh no, Enoch was, because he never died. Well, really, he did die. If you go all the way to Hebrews chapter 11, it talks about by faith Abel, and then it says by faith Enoch in verse 5. But then down in verse 13, it says that all these died in faith, which would have to include Enoch. If you figure that one out, let me know. We may get into that one day. Something happened when God took them. And something's going to happen to us. The Bible says that we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. And I believe, it's appointed unto man once to die, the Bible says, and after this the judgment. Everybody has to die. The wages of sin is death. Something's going to take place, and something took place with Enoch. Something changed. His old man, this body of flesh and blood had to be changed. So he did die, but how old he was, we don't know, because we don't know if God changed him immediately or maybe he changed him later. And then it says that Methuselah lived after he begat, in verse 26, it says Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech, and Methuselah, verse 26, lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years after and begat a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because the ground which the Lord has cursed. And Lamech lived after he begat Noah 5 years and begat sons and daughters.